Let's get ready to story! Where is Jim Bosha? Jim Bosha. A brave soul. He has arrived. It's me. It's all yours. Well, and before I say this, please remember to save your booing for after the show. If anything, I identify as a Southsider. But the first few and most impactful years of my life were spent here in West Side. And in fact, a stroll from here down on Railroad Avenue. In my grandparents' home, where I lived until first grade, when we moved to Nativity, where I too was punished by the Lord. But in those proto years, while my parents were saving to buy their own home, a young couple, we lived in my grandparents' home, a home that they had occupied here in the Bellevue section of West Side for a good 120 years at that point. Honestly, it was a big home, a pretty nice home. It was a fucking funeral home. I lived in a funeral home. I was a little kid. And I lived in a funeral home, and I had cousins. I didn't have siblings. Cousins are better than siblings. They smell better, and they're less expensive. But, here we were in this huge house. This house had a third floor, not an attic. A third floor with rooms, okay? So for a person who was at that time even smaller than I am now, this was a huge house. It had a backyard, not a terribly huge backyard even to us then, but enough for a bigger backyard than my cousins and I, most of us had in our own parents' homes. So it was a place where a lot of the kids were just dropped by their parents. Yeah, on their grandparents at this big funeral home, and we played out back there, and this was at a point of time, and I have 3 children of my own, and I'm not sure what age this is, but it's that age where everything is still magical, but you're done being a toddler, but you're not yet a cynical little shit. And this was a big Irish Catholic family. Our heads were just populated by all this Vatican magic, and we were in a fucking funeral home, and we were just starting to figure this out. There was one room in the back where we couldn't go, and I remember saying to my cousin Frankie, you remember that time where parents were drinking beer and we went upstairs and we watched that movie we weren't supposed to see, that movie with Frankenstein? Do you remember that table Frankenstein was on? Did you see what's in the room back? Yeah. What are they doing? I don't know. It's at about this same period of time, and you could tell by looking at me, this was just after the Civil War. It was not uncommon at all for families to burn their garbage in their backyard. And most backyards had, for this purpose, a fire pit, okay? So on Wednesday, you would be burning your garbage, and on Thursday in the summer, you'd be toasting your hot dogs over the same pit. And out back of Grandma's, as we called it, there was one of these fire pits. And again, I don't know what age this was, this age between absolute childhood wonder and just starting to figure things out, but that was the age. The fire pit in this case, was about that tall. And it would sometimes take Frankie, my cousin, let's call him Frankie, a couple leaps to get on top of it. And we would walk around it. And it was, I don't, in terms of circumference, about the size of a monster truck tire. And this was a cement circle in which garbage was routinely burnt. And we would hop up there and walk around it, you know, and it was just something to do. We didn't have monkey bars. One time we did that, and we looked into the pit, and there in the ash is this purple spherical thing. And we're looking at it, and I don't know what it is, and Frankie doesn't know what it is. And we're thinking about this, and we're thinking, this is a funeral home. And they do things, they do stuff back there. We don't know what they do. This could almost be an organ, but it's not. It's too perfect to be a human organ. It's like a small world. Except where blue would be, this is purple. This is a soul. This is a human soul. And Frankie retrieved from the back porch an umbrella, and we're poking at the soul, and we're moving it around. Holy shit. Somebody messed up. It's a soul. It was in the fire. It's still there. How do you think souls last forever in hell? Okay? It's immune to fire. That's why it's still here. They were burning other body parts, whatever these people do, the soul, there it is. Maybe it was Uncle DJ had a drink, I don't know. So we go into the house to get Grandma. And now my grandmother could string together a set of curses that would make a 19th century sailor's ears seal shut like a tulip in reverse time lapse. But she had an innate ability. What she did was she wove together with all these profanities the pantheon of saints. So you were never quite sure if you were listening to the most foul protestation or the most amazing prayer. And her husband, my sainted grandfather, was the very same way. They would swear a blue streak, and you think maybe you were at Mass, maybe you weren't. Jesus, Mary, and so we went in to tell Grandma, look, you know, what are you going to do? There's a soul in the ash pit. We have to tell a grown-up. Tell a grown-up. So we went inside to find Grandma Claire, and we found her, and I don't recall this. I can prove this story is true. The other, Frankie, let's call him Frankie, is still alive and a funeral director here in town. So we go in to tell Grandma Claire, and we somehow informed her there was a soul out back. She comes out to investigate. We're offering her the umbrella. Poke the fucker, you'll see. She comes out, she looks over the edge, she looks down, she looks up, she looks at me and Frank, and she burst out with, and I mean the proper use of the word burst. A laugh comes out of her like an erupting volcano to the point where it shoots her dentures clean out of her face. And Frank and I both go, swear words, saints swear words. It's fucking Christ, it's a goddamn cabbage. Turns out there was a cabbage at the bottom of the ice box. It was always known as the ice box, even though it has been a refrigerator for the past 40 years. It was an ice box that was forgotten about long enough that the cabbage in question became inedible and was thrown in with the garbage. But because of its natural moisture content, like a witch, was immune to the flame that the other garbage succumbed to. So it wasn't a soul after all. But that happened right here in West Side. And then actually, the first and last time I actually ever did see a human soul.